Hey everyone, it's Ride1940 here. Today we're taking a look at Stormworks, and this is LHA-2. This is a ship that I've been building, so we're just doing kind of a progress report showing you what I have. And you can try the light version of this. This is on the workshop, and these aircraft are all on the workshop, so you can fly them and use them with the light version of this carrier. There will be some exterior differences, and obviously the internal stuff is a lot lighter. There's basically a hull and a way to navigate and some weapon systems to defend yourself, and then the flight deck works so that you can play with that hopefully with your friends, and or just practice in single player while I build the rest of the ship out in a really complex way. So the first helicopter that we've got is the SH-159. This is a modification of Jocko's JB-159 helicopter. It's kind of a navalized version, and it uses the landing system that we've got on the ship and on my other ships. It's all just basically two small connectors in line with each other, spaced out by 7 blocks. So 9 blocks total, and as long as that has power, that'll keep the ship and the helicopter connected and everybody's happy. Because those do need power to stay connected, we've got electrical connections all around the flight deck, and then there's chargers, so it provides sort of a one-way flow of electricity from the ship's energy source to the helicopter or aircraft battery. This is AV91 by Soup. Soup has made a lot of things for us here on the ship. They've made, let's see here. They made the tractor, and they've kind of like a base to let me just modify it. So I've made one for electrical generation, I've made one for fuel, and then one as like a fire truck. So you can put out fires on the flight deck. Now Soup's jet, you should really download even if you don't get the ship, just because it's really cool. It's got the bombs, the cannons, missiles, fuel pods, and rocket pods. If you do have the ship or the LHA Lite, it does work on both of them. This ship's not out yet, but LHA Lite is. They've made it super cool. They've asked me to put beacons or radio or laser beacons on all the landing spots, and that's because they've built this landing system, so you can, when you're flying over the deck, kind of hovering, it's really hard to see around you. So this allows you to accurately get over a landing spot. In fact, my helicopters don't have this stuff, and I wish they did, because that makes it super easy to land. So definitely go check his jet out. It's on the workshop. AV91 is the name. This is BC Jeffro's CH-46. Now this, you'll have to, if you get it from him, you'll have to modify it. I privately just modified mine to add the small connector stuff, and I don't remember if it had a power input, so if it didn't, then I would have added it here. And I've also added a way to refuel the helicopter. I like this helicopter because there's a lot of CH-46s on the workshop, but they're all really big, and this was, I think, made for some battles online. They had that in mind, so it's a lot lighter than a lot of other aircraft. That person makes a ton of cool things as well, so just definitely check them out on the workshop. They've got a bunch of military vehicles and light vehicles that are not so crazy on logic and parts, so they don't lag anything out. Now what you see here is a crane, and we'll talk about that later, and we'll go look at the boat deck. But Soup made that the rib that the crane services. The rib's down there. You've seen it in FFG 46 and FFG 59. So yeah, the top side here we've got some weapon systems. This is the missile system 5 by Bruce. That's also on FFG 59, not on FFG 46. It's a really simple missile system, and I love it for that reason. It's got a cool missile magazine. The missiles come up as long as they don't get broken by the physics or whatever. Yeah, you should see 6 come up, and there's a ton of them. I think there's like 30 something missiles, a lot of reloads, and you also see these 50 cal sort of guns. I believe there's 4 of them on the catwalks here, and there's a couple 240 Bravo guns. There's one here, there's one on the stern, the fantail area down there, and then there's 2 up topside on the upper levels there. So we've also got the elevator. We can go up and down with it. Now it's vital that this door stays locked and shut when it's not in use, so that just keeps the seawater out. Sometimes this is kind of buggy where it there we go. Yeah, it either takes like a few to reset it, or sometimes you just have to wait it out, which is strange. For these vehicles, let's talk about that really quick, sorry. They all have their specific functions, but they all have chargers, and also they are connected by one small connector in their parking areas, so you can keep them in place that way. I recommend, if you were to park this on the deck somewhere, if you're near a connector, just plug in the power, because the brakes and stuff will, and also the radiators, I think, will drain the battery, and then eventually the carts will go sliding around. So while we're back here, why don't we just go down one level? Oh, actually, let's go up to the island and work our way down. There we go. Alright, so this is the top part of the island. We have all the standard stuff I like to put on the ships that I make. Seaweed makes these really cool, really easy to use systems here. So we've got the nav and autopilot system. I love his weather system. This is an automatic foghorn system that I put on all my ships, and that's made by who was that? That was Roadhammer, I think, was it? Yeah. And so what that does is, if it's foggy, it's automatically gonna sound the foghorn every 2 minutes, or about every 2 minutes, which is what you need to do in that situation. So Sharp's ECU connected to both. There's 2 engines, and this radar system is also made by Seaweed. And then we also got a lighting system here. So we got external lights, the flight deck lights, and the exterior lights there. So, and obviously the nav lights. Very simple. If we go down this way, this is kind of a small, tiny combat area. I haven't filled it out yet. We'll add more stuff into it, but at the moment, this is where you would control Bruce's missile system. And I also added a scope so that you get that much clearer look at stuff. Oh, seems like something wigged out there. Anyways, get out of this. So that hatch goes to combat, or pilot house in combat, so there's a quick way to get around that way. Probably going to add some sort of surveillance camera system that'll be in that room as well, so you can kind of look at targets that are at a distance. Throughout the ship, you're going to see these electrical isolation boxes, and they are tied to, kind of think of them as like a electrical bus, where this goes out to the flight deck, and then that also goes out to the flight deck. The kind of think of it as a bus, but it's really breaking the ship up electrically into 3 segments. So there's forward, midships, and aft. Each of those breakers coming off the battery pack will then go to these little individual isolation boxes, so you can have a huge control, or larger swath control of where the power is going to the ship, or you can isolate it down to small segments like a space and do it that way. In the future, I might want to mess with, see if we can make the electrical system more robust and use relays and stuff to move power around. But yeah, we'll see what we do. You also got fire extinguishers around, and this is kind of like the hangar bay. So unfortunately, the way that I'm keeping this to be compatible with a normal workbench, so that you don't have to buy, or you don't have to buy, but you don't have to modify a workbench to be able to use this thing. You can just download it from the workshop, and it's going to work. So because of that, I can't make this space too tall, and so this is kind of the height restriction, which I don't think any of the aircraft fit. They're just too big, too tall. So it is what it is. If somebody makes smaller aircraft, you can use the elevator and bring it down here. It's sealed right now, and it needs to be sealed if there's a heavy sea state, because the water will come in. But if we want to do that, we can undo it here. We want to open this and then slide it aft. There you go. So if we were to operate the elevator, we can go back topside, bring it up and down that way. So we can do it in reverse, slide that forward. Okay, and then we can seal that, and then I just like to lock it, even though it says it's sealed anyways. So we'll go back aft. Run back aft, okay. So these go up to the catwalks on the port and starboard side, so that's good. This goes out to, this is a little deck. I'm going to have to fix this hatch, it's not quite working really well. Yeah. This is if you're out the ship and you need to swim back to get back on the ship. This is the deck that you would do that at. Just climb up here and jump on board. This is a little aft security locker. In fact, I took a magazine on accident. Let's put that back. So guns and armor and stuff like that. We have that there because this is the fantail, and there's a machine gun out here. You want to have your body armor on before you get to shooting at bad guys. There's RSL here, which is filled with machine gun ammo. Okay. And then we got the boat deck here. There's the SAR locker here because we're by the boat deck, so the rescue swimmer and stuff can get their equipment, jump on the boat. Squadron ready room, just some chairs and a podium. And then we'll figure out what we're going to do here. Probably, I don't want to put a living space here, but maybe a galley or medical or something like that. So Soup has made the AV-91 up there. They've made the tractors that we use. They've also made the rib, and you've seen that if you know my other boats. Soup has made those ribs that are on there, and this is the same boat. There's a crane system here that it's like a two-step process. You need to deploy the main arm, and then deploy the bow arm. Okay, and then you would attach a rope from the bow arm to the front part of the bow here. There's a little connector with a rope, and then this is already connected. So then at that point you can just slew the boat out and then lower it and then get in the boat. We won't do that. This is also this pull payout winch here is because we're using this connector right there, and when you pull the boat in, you're going to need to manipulate it to get back to that spot to lock it back into place. But it's definitely doable, and yeah, I'm kind of happy with this. The only problem is sometimes the payout speed is going to be it's difficult to manage because the rope length here is going to always vary compared to what that is, because the boat loads in like that when the game loads, but this is something that we've got to connect ourselves. Anyways, yeah, it's all back aft. What is this? Oh, this is like an equipment room. It's kind of where I just put some logic things. And the engine room is down below us. We'll go down to some of the engineering spaces. So this goes down to some main engineering spaces. This is a place called Central Control Station, or CCS. It's kind of where you, like, if you imagine combat, or CIC is where all the combat system stuff is primarily controlled from. CCS is where all the engineering stuff is primarily controlled from. In my previous ships I had like a ballast control room and a fuel control room, that kind of stuff, and electrical generation room, but I'm going to try and fit everything in here, and if I have to, I'll probably have to expand the space out to fit the electrical stuff, because right now this is the battery room. We've got generators that feed these batteries, and these are like the sort of these are the breakers for those generators. So if we disconnect that, then there is no connection to that specific generator. If it's on, then it allows the generator to flow power into these batteries. Okay, and this is the switchboard. So this is where that power comes in from the battery and then gets divvied out to all those individual isolation breakers, which power everything in that particular space. So you can control that. Anyways, back to CCS. This is where you would control the ballast. Okay, we've got the ballast system here, and that is by, I think, banner chalk or something like that. And then Pufferfish makes these guys here, this fuel system displays. What was different in my old ship that I didn't like was you can only laterally, like in terms of the fuel, you can only laterally like move the fuel to an adjacent tank. I didn't like that, so we've got something that's more simple. It kind of looks complicated, but it's really not. You say if we have tank 5 and 6 that we want to fill, we can say I want tank 6 filled, and then I want tank 5 filled, and there's no fuel flowing yet, but those fill valves for those tanks are open. So now I just need to tell it where to pull the fuel from. So we'll pull from 7 and 8. So we'll say empty 8 and empty 7. Actually, we can tell them to just empty all the other tanks that are not tank 5 and 6, and you'll see we'll start pulling fuel. There's a giant loop that goes around these outsides of these tanks, and depending on if these valves are open or closed, it'll pull the fuel from it or it'll fill to it. So now it's pulling from all these tanks, but particularly tank 4 I think is the one. Tank 4 and 3 seem to be the ones that really getting drained right now, and starting to fill those tank 5 and 6. Now 5 and 6 are low because they are the feed tanks to the engines. So we've got a starboard and port engine, and those two tanks there are the ones that feed it. So it's very important that you have these things filled constantly. So I might just default set this kind of configuration up and then just allow you to mess around with it and change it if you want, but it'll be aligned in a way that keeps these guys filled, so you don't have to remember that. This is just the engine stuff. And then the ballast system is the same way. You can tell if I want to fill or suction. So I'm telling it the action I want and what tanks I want affected by that. So I can say I want to fill tank 1, 3, 5, or 7, and it's not allowing us to do it sort of the way that we do it here, because the ballast system is tied into a sea chest. So I made it more, I think, realistic. My other ships just pulled water to tanks directly from through the hole, and really the ballast system is supplied seawater, and a lot of the other systems on the ship is supplied seawater through a sea chest. And so the sea chest suctions the water in, and then we can align these valves and say fill, and it'll pull from the sea chest and fill the specific tanks. When we discharge it, I think right now it goes back through this back through out to the sea, I think into the sea chest area, and it gets put out to the ocean that way. Or there might be overboard discharges, I don't remember. But what I'm going to do in the future is make a simulated ballast water treatment system, because in real life you can't simply just take ballast water and just remove it whenever you want. You have to treat it, because the danger is if you don't treat that stuff for biological things, you can introduce species of marine life into an area that's not supposed to have it, and it could just wreak havoc, right? Or you can introduce diseases or whatever into an area that's not used to it, and you can kill off a lot of sea life. So to keep things safe, ships are mandated to have ballast water treatment systems, and they must work. So I'm going to make one like that. I'll probably just take that ballast water and run it through like a desalinator, make it fresh or something, and then discharge it that way. Anyways, some of the engineering spaces will probably fill out here, or maybe fit a big berthing or something in here as well. So that's as far forward as we're going to go. Now, you see these lights here? This is because I've got my fake Halon system going. I think that's on this side. It might be a deck above. We'll see. This is just the lower level of the engine room. Yeah, it's on the upper level. Okay. Oh, actually, while we're back here, so this is a generator room for this is the aft generator. There'll be 3 on the ship. I've got forward and aft hooked up right now. Really simple. Start it. You can kill the connection to this goes to that breaker that you saw in the electrical room that then goes to the battery. So you can kill that here if you want. Set this guy up, and then we'll just start creating electricity. Yeah, close that. And then down here, where is it? There we go. So there's a ladder well that goes down here, and this is where so the sea chest is basically this area back here that you can't see, and this is the whole pumping system for the fuel tanks and the ballast tanks. So anything in green on my ships is all seawater, so this is going to be seawater discharge going back into the sea chest, and then this is the seawater intake because it's pushing it down the line to go to all these other tanks, and this is flowing the water to those specific ballast tanks which are behind the bulkhead here. And then anything orange is going to be like the torque, so this is kind of like the power from those engines coming down to the screw. Not realistic, but oh well, we don't really have working shafts and stuff in this game, so that's what I'm just doing. Blue is just coolant water. That's going up to the radiators. for the engine room above us, and then yellow in my ships is always going to be fuel systems, like so this is going out to all the fuel tanks to align them and stuff. So this is what I call the bilge area. It's not, normally you don't walk on the bilge, but we don't really have a catwalk thing, and I can't build this thing any deeper, otherwise I probably would put a little catwalk thing in there. And so this goes all the way up forward to the forward bilge area. Back, let's see where we pop up at. Oh yeah, can't go in here right now because that still has the physics flutter, so I'll have to fix that. Alright. So yeah. All these, you might have to come down here if maybe there's extended damage and you're noticing that the fuel tanks or something is not doing the correct action when you've aligned it to do something. Alright, so then we can go back up topside. Well, not fully topside, we'll go up one deck just to go down half a deck, because I've got this weird floor layout because of the deck situation here. Alright, so this is the upper level of the engine room. With lower levels what we're just at, and if you notice we've got all those blue lights everywhere as well, and those are because we are using that same sort of fake Halon system here. And basically if I turn it on, get that loud buzzer, you can silence that buzzer, and then all the flashing is basically telling you to get the heck out of the space. I might adjust this and put it on a timer, because in reality you do get the buzzer and the light first, obviously, because you want to know beforehand that the stuff's going to kick off. So maybe put it on a timer, and then after the timer elapses, then the gas is discharged. Now all these bottles, these nitrogen tanks are empty, and so yeah, turn it off that way, then it's all good. This hose station is just, it was carried over from a previous build. This is basically what most of my hose stations will look like, and they'll be throughout the ship, so you can put out fires that way. That'll be a step that's coming in the future. And then down here, there's an active stabilizer down here that's moving, and it's a weight that we need to use, and it's got the pit outputs and the tilt sensor stuff here, so you can see what it's doing. But yeah, it's basically a big block weight. There's a couple of them. There's one aft of that you don't see in a different space, and there's one underneath the stern deck area. You need to have this kind of stuff on a carrier because the island obviously has weight and it's offset to one side. So if you were to build the ship with that in regard and put a lot of weight on the deck on the opposite side of that, you have this problem, because while the ship is balanced when there's no aircraft on it, because you've built it that way, the moment you land an aircraft on a ship that's balanced like that, then the ship's going to tilt further to the port side, because all the weight from the aircraft is touched down now, and there's no way to counter that on the starboard side, because you're just relying on the weight of the island. But once you get that perfect, there's really no movement that can happen. So this system is really good, because as we land aircraft, it's going to move the weight and slide it, because it's going to want to try and fight the tilt and keep it level as possible. So that is how you build a sort of a carrier type ship. What is up forward here? Oh yeah, this space here is just, beyond that is the missile mag for the Missile System 5. I plan on putting some fire control, sort of like extinguishing system sort of controls in there, so they're kind of watching the flight deck or the hangar deck for fires and controlling it that way. So these go out to the forward catwalks, and then this is the forward generator room right here. Same thing, it's just like a copy of the other one. This goes to the connection to the battery, and we could run it that way. And we'll go up to the forward catwalk. So yeah, you can see we're running pretty level. It's pretty good, like it. This goes in the forward magazine. So yeah, missile magazine here. You can see some of these missiles have gotten loose. And this is that conflagration station area here that watches over the hangar deck, so that'll be really cool. I'll put, I think, connectors down here just in case if any of you do build planes that fit in the hangar bay, they'll have the same connection standard as all the flight deck. So, and I'll probably put one space this way, I guess, so that way you can push an aircraft back and have it lock in, and then lower it, and then you can push the aircraft forward when we go much lower, when we go down to the lower deck there. Didn't show you guys the one last thing in the pilot house. Kind of missed it. So this is the flight deck control room. So you got the view here. This is where you can turn on the laser system and the, I call it the RAS system. It's not a RAS system really, because that's for traversing. This has no traverse feature. It's basically locking it into place when you land. So anyways, we've got this thing here made by, I think that is McLaren 2009, and I use this primarily just for this here. So it's the TACAN system. It's on all the other ships. I've put it on there. You can set the frequency that you want to do, and then you can transmit. And like SH-159 has the TACAN system on it as well, so they can set receive to 1, and then they'll get the distance and stuff and the bearing information to this ship if we fly away from it. As far as I know, AV91 doesn't have it, and that CH-46 doesn't have it, but CH-46 there certainly has room to put it in. But I think we're tapped out of space from what I see on that jet. Anyways, that is that. We can go... Oh yeah, we've got a rifle locker here for the bosun's mate of the watch. And then there is a door that goes out this way. And we can go topside. So these are the highest guns on the ship. We can see pretty far and shoot at them. This is a fake flag bag that goes up the mast. And then this is the generator stack, so the exhaust from the generators will come out this way. We are heading on a we're getting on a collision course, and this is the stack for the engines. So RSL, once again, for machine gun ammo. Another radar for the TACAN system. It's got one built into it if you need to use that for whatever reason. Oh no, we've fallen. Okay, let's get into the bridge. There we go. Alright, let's see if we could pull this off. So because we have that stability system, it's going to be a little bit more difficult to turn, because when you're unstable, that makes maneuverability increase. And when we're trying to be stable by canceling out the weird pitching or weird rolling movements from landing aircraft on the deck, that's just naturally going to make it harder to turn. But you still can turn pretty good, I think, in my opinion, with all this weight on here. I haven't tried. See how fast we can go. We have some pretty heavy aircraft on board, but I think we can get this up to 50 knots. Yeah, this thing is like rooster tailing. Yeah, we're over 50, 60 knots there. That's good. That's certainly not sustainable because, man, look at that. Just pulling this thing up. The ship engines will overheat. So we'll go ahead and dial that down. No, too slow down. There we go. Yeah, so you can see how that rocking, it'll take a while for the PID to slide back and forth to work that out. You can kind of help it though with some movements there. Is that a warship out there? Oh, maybe that's a hospital ship. Yeah, that's the hospital ship. I was gonna say we could use our weapon system there to do a quick demo. Alright, I think we've covered all of what I've got so far. Gonna have to work on building out the interior with some living spaces and that kind of stuff, and then I'll do the work for the flight or the fire main system going through the ship. I like to have the fire hose stations outside of spaces, and then within smaller spaces you'll have like fire extinguishers. And also I got to build out the repair lockers, and then the ballast treatment center or treatment system that I was talking about earlier. We'll add that in. Freshwater system, so we'll have a desalinator take water from the sea chest and then create fresh water out of it, and we'll create a heating system and a cooling system for those different sets of water. On my previous ship, I think at FFG 459, we've sent hot water to the showers and cold water just to the sinks and toilets. So we'll do that, and then we'll have brown and gray water tanks, and then treatment systems for those to pump them over to discharge once they've been treated. And yeah, so that kind of stuff is all just extra nonsense, and that's why these types of ships just take forever. But I do like marine engineering, so I like making ships like that. So yeah, if you have any questions or comments, leave them down below, and I'll see you on the next one. Bye.